guys, and welcome to the Moms and Mysteries podcast, a true crime podcast featuring myself, Mandy, and my dear friend, Melissa. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Mandy. How are you?
I am doing well. I was going to say I got the summertime sadness, but I don't really have the summertime sadness.
That's not... What are you talking about?
I know, it was all wrong. I feel wonderful. I don't have that at all.
Yeah, I do love that song, though. It's a beautiful song. Mandy, I'm feeling great this summer, and can I tell you why?
Of course.
Hashtag not an ad. I finally have cracked, and by this I mean Nina Poole from TikTok has cracked the mosquito problem for me.
Stop. I feel like we need like a drum roll or like a something happening noise.
I could
in the
almost cry.
I need to hear like cheering and
Yeah.
everything. Like, okay, tell us about it.
Okay, so everyone was like, if you have O positive blood or O blood, that's probably part of it. Yes, that is. I am O, I found out. So that wasn't it, though. Nina Poole, she's like this genius on TikTok that gives you dupes for stuff. And so she reads all the ingredient lists on things and then says, oh, you can find it here for this much cheaper. Okay, so this is Dr. Teal's moisturizing bath and body oil. It's shea butter and almond oil and essential oil. So it's just literally a body oil. You put vanilla extract in it, shake it up, put it on your skin. You smell great. You're not chemically. And okay, I've only used it 3 times, but the big time I used it was on July 4th in my front yard, like lighting off little sparklers and stuff. Not a bite. Not a bite. And I smell delicious. So it really,
I'm actually impressed.
I'm so excited.
I have, believe it or not, I also have a story about testing out a solution for mosquitoes. Only mine is a lot more clown shoes than yours.
Oh, okay. What you got?
Okay. You might remember, it wasn't that long ago, I sent you a TikTok. It was like a funny thing where somebody was using like a clip-on dragonfly
on
their hat and allegedly saying that this is like the life hack, like to keep mosquitoes away, like to put this little fake dragonfly on you somewhere.
Yeah.
And magically the mosquitoes would stay away. Okay. And the person in this TikTok was like dead serious, like that this actually works. And so I got some clip-on dragonfly.
No, this is more desperate than I was. That's crazy.
Yeah. I took it out in the yard, clipped it on my shirt, and still got bit by mosquitoes. So, I'm very happy that your concoction worked, and I definitely give me the recipe.
Absolutely, I will. It's literally like $5 at Walmart. Like, so it's already super affordable, but I'll also post it on our social media just because people year after year hear me complain, and like every time we get a new listener, you know, after a while we get the DMs that are like, Melissa, have you tried this for mosquitoes? So it's been my plight. So we'll see how it goes the rest of the summer. I'll keep you all updated. But this was very important news, and I was like excited to be outside for a few minutes. I still have a whole mosquito net bodysuit I can wear if I need to, but right now I just
I'm so glad
delicious.
you don't have to. I know.
I kind of wish I did. It's more fun. So anyway, yeah. So big life update, huge life update.
That's amazing.
I'm living.
That's amazing.
Yes. So we'll see what happens from here.
All right. I definitely do love that for you. We are going to get into our special Thursday episode this week. Before we do, though, I did just want to it's not really an announcement. I feel like we have already kind of announced that we're going to be at CrimeCon again this year. So
Yay.
We're really excited. And you know, we are terrible at calendars and have realized that it's coming up very fast.
Yeah, very.
Okay, so the dates are September 5th through 7th. And so that's going to come up very, very quickly. I'm super excited. It's going to be in Denver this year, which Melissa and I are both super excited about because we love scenery and beautiful things.
I know. I've never been to Denver, and I'm so excited to see the airport.
You've
and
never?
I'm excited to see it No, I've never gone past Texas. I've just which I think it's past Texas. I've never gone further west than like Dallas, so I'm very excited.
I'm even more excited now.
Yeah.
I've been to Denver a couple times.
Okay.
But there's so much that you always want to do when you're there. I'm always like, I want to come back to Denver so I can go and do this or explore this cool thing or see this cool thing. So I'm very excited to go to Denver, and I'm even more excited now that I know that you have not been to Denver before.
I'm very excited, and I'm sure I'll acclimate to the levels of the sea levels and all the other things that people have to adjust to there. I'm sure it will be very easy for me, and I will have no problems.
Yes, we will absolutely be fine. So if anybody listening would like to visit us at CrimeCon or come see us at CrimeCon, you can use our code MOMS to get 10% off your standard badge. And yeah, we definitely hope to see you guys there. We always have a great time at CrimeCon, getting to meet a lot of our listeners, getting to connect with other creators, and even meeting families a lot. It's something that we really enjoy doing, and we hope that you guys will come check that out this year.
Absolutely.
So today we are bringing you a special Thursday episode covering the disappearance of Jennifer Kesse. So even though this is a pretty widely known and infamous case, really once you peel back all the rumors and the theories around it, there's not a lot of confirmed and factual information, and there wasn't really enough to make a full-length episode. But as Orlando locals, it is a story that we've always wanted to share on the podcast. We hope that Jennifer's case will one day get the answers that her family deserves. Jennifer Kesse was born on May 20th, 1981 in New Jersey, but she grew up in Florida. She graduated from Vivian Gaither High School in Tampa, and then she went on to attend the University of Central Florida in Orlando, where she joined Alpha Delta Pi sorority. Her sorority sisters referred to her as the mother hen because she was just always looking out for others. She earned a degree in finance in 2003. Jennifer was very close with her family. She kept in constant contact with her parents, Drew and Joyce, and her younger brother, Logan. She would call her family members all the time, like when she was just walking to her car or when somebody, even from maintenance in her condo, was just going to stop by. Jennifer's dad described her as being smart, stubborn, loving, and kind. At the time of Jennifer's disappearance, she had been dating a guy named Rob Allen for about a year. He lived about 3 hours away in Fort Lauderdale. They had met each other at a bar and maintained a relationship with visits to see each other every other weekend. When it came to her professional life, Jennifer was thriving. She had worked her way up to finance manager at Central Florida Investments timeshare company in Ocoee. By November of 2005, at just 24 years old, Jennifer had bought her own condo at the Mosaic at Millenia, which is near the Mall at Millenia in Orlando. Jennifer told her friends and family that she felt very safe there because of the gated entry and security guard. So for those who aren't from around here and just don't really know anything about this area, I will share a little bit of personal experience. So the Mall at Millenia was relatively new at the time of the story. It had really just opened in late 2002. And Melissa, do you remember when the Mall at Millenia opened? Like, that it was a big deal?
I had moved here, I think, 2004, 2005.
Oh, okay.
So it was already here when I moved.
Yeah, so I lived very close to the Mall at Millenia at the time that it opened. So this is a upscale mall, has like premium luxury stores, the kind of stores that you don't see everywhere, like in every mall. It's not like Forever 21 and Express, right? We're talking about like Louis Vuitton, Prada,
Yes.
Balenciaga, like stores that you only really even hear about in magazines or see celebrities wearing them. Like real people don't shop at these stores.
And it's shocking when I see people walk out with a bag. I'm like, whoa, right. I can't believe it. I could never.
No, it's definitely not a mall that I ever say, hey, you want to go to the Mall at Millenia?
They have Cheesecake Factory, so I have gone there several times for Cheesecake Factory.
They do have great restaurants. I will give them that. But naturally, because they were putting in this luxury mall, they have to build the area around this fancy mall up to make it appear like this is an entire luxury community. But in reality, it was, and still really to this day, is just a few blocks from a not great part of Orlando and literally right up the street from the prison.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
The prison that sits right there on I-4.
Girl, I don't even know where that is. Not a clue.
I have grievances about that as well, because why is there a prison right next to a highway? That's like a perfect...
Yeah. I've got to pay more attention when I'm driving. Never knew that.
Yeah. You absolutely do.
I'm concerned.
Yeah. So it really is not in like the best part of town. The areas around it, like immediately around it, are definitely not upscale, not on the same level as what the Mall at Millenia area looks like. The reason I know a lot of this and like feel like I can speak to this is because my very first apartment was actually in this area in 2005, which is the same year that Jennifer went missing. In fact, I was actually living less than a mile and a half from Jennifer's condo at the time this story happened.
Whoa.
And I would not describe the area that I lived in as being safe. So that's all I will say about that. But if I drove up the street towards, this brand new fancy mall, things did look and feel a lot different. And there was this illusion of safety, especially, like I said, if you aren't familiar with the entire area around it.
On Wednesday, January 18th, 2006, Jennifer left work in Ocoee and drove to Rob's place in Fort Lauderdale so they could leave the next day for a trip to St. Croix. They returned from this trip on January 22nd, and Jennifer stayed the night at Rob's place again. The next morning, January 23rd, Jennifer left Rob's and drove directly to work in Ocoee, and this was, as Mandy said before, about a 3-hour drive. That evening, she said goodnight to her boss, and she left work around 6 p.m. Jennifer called her mom, dad, and brother to check in with them, as she always did, and later that evening, she chatted on the phone with a friend. Jennifer ended the night with a call to Rob around 10 p.m. According to Rob, Jennifer was in bed while they were talking. They had a minor disagreement about the stress of long-distance dating, but it was nothing alarming. And you definitely expect that coming back from this trip, the two of you have gotten to spend all this time together, and now it's like, back to this back and forth thing.
3 hours apart again.
Yeah.
Right.
So Rob went to bed expecting to hear from Jennifer the next morning. She always called or texted him before she went to work. But on January 24th, nothing came. Rob tried to call Jennifer shortly before his 9 a.m. meeting, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Rob knew that this was unusual, but he carried on with his morning and likely assumed that Jennifer would get in touch soon. But by lunchtime, there was still no word from her, and Rob was becoming deeply concerned. Meanwhile, what Rob had yet to find out is that Jennifer had never shown up for work, and she missed an important meeting. Her boss was actually friends with Jennifer's parents, so she called them at around 11 a.m. to see if they knew where she was. When Drew and Joyce heard that Jennifer didn't show up to work, they tried to contact her themselves. But when her phone went straight to voicemail, they knew something was wrong. Her parents said that Jennifer's phone never went straight to voicemail like that. Jennifer's parents started calling hospitals and got in touch with Jennifer's apartment management and even the head of the maintenance crew at the complex. The maintenance employee checked in and was able to confirm that Jennifer's car was not in her parking space. He and another worker entered Jennifer's condo and found no sign of her, but the shower and a towel were still wet and her toiletries were out as if she'd just gotten ready.
By mid-afternoon, Jennifer's parents had arrived at her condo, and they found that she had slept in her bed, taken a shower, and laid out 2 outfits for work. Her phone, purse, keys, and iPod were all missing, which really seemed to indicate that she had likely left for work that morning before she vanished, meaning she got ready and left her apartment on her own accord. Orlando police were called, and an officer met Jennifer's family at her condo. According to her dad, the officer dismissed their concerns and suggested that Jennifer may have had a fight with her boyfriend and just gone to blow off steam. But Jennifer's family instantly knew that wasn't like her. And honestly, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because, people do get in arguments at any time, but who just gets ready for work in the morning and then leaves to blow off steam? That doesn't really line up. Jennifer's brother Logan tried talking to construction workers around the complex, but many of them wouldn't even answer him, which, of course, Logan thought was really strange and kind of off-putting. By 4 p.m. that day, Jennifer's condo had become a command center. Her family was printing and distributing flyers all around the neighborhood. The police did not open an official investigation right away, but the local news did pick up on the story that same evening, which helped to spread awareness quickly. On Thursday, January 26th, police got a call from a tenant at another condo complex nearby called Huntington on the Green. This complex was about 1.2 miles from Jennifer's condo. The tenant there reported that Jennifer's black Chevy Malibu had been parked outside their apartment since Tuesday. Security footage from the complex showed that Jennifer's car had arrived at noon on January 24th. The driver sat inside the car for 32 seconds before getting out and walking away. Unfortunately, the video is heartbreakingly frustrating because each frame was taken every 3 seconds. And in every single frame, the person's face is perfectly blocked by one of the fence posts. So you can't see anything about their face. You can only see the body. And it's just one of those timing things that it just happened to work out that way.
You couldn't plan that better, being that person. They obviously weren't thinking of a surveillance camera, but the way it ended up taking the pictures, and that's one thing that's been debated forever, is these pictures, people trying to decide, is this a male or female? You can't even tell, and everyone has their reasons for each. But yeah, that's, to me, one of the more frustrating parts of this case is to have this, but to not really have it.
For sure. And then it just kind of goes back to just, and I know a lot, like hindsight's always 20/20, but then it's like, why is the camera set up right there? Why is the camera set up where anything is obstructing the view of the sidewalk? You know, like, why would you put it on that side of the fence? Or why would you not have the camera higher somehow so you can get it? It's all frustrating whenever you think about it. It's like, because why didn't someone see the view that the camera was getting and think like that's not a great view?
Because it feels like it's not really there for security so much as to say you have security. So we have these cameras, but you're not saying, but we're actually not really seeing what's happening.
So the FBI did later estimate that the person in the footage was about 5'3" to 5'5" and may have been wearing white overalls, like possibly what a painter would wear. And this person either had a hat or possibly a ponytail. I have to say, looking at the images, I didn't see a ponytail. Maybe a hat, but you truly cannot tell.
Overalls, yes. Maybe a hat, but it's very hard to tell. And which is part of this, right? They've never really had a great suspect to look at. So the police held onto these photos for 12 days to avoid tipping off the suspect, but they did eventually release the images. Meanwhile, Jennifer's car was taken to be examined, but it yielded no forensic evidence. There's no signs of violence, and it appeared to be suspiciously clean. There was a VCR in the back seat that Rob had given Jennifer, but her keys, purse, phone, and iPod were missing, and those items to this day have never been found. There were handprints on the hood of the car that suggested a struggle. Jennifer's father later said that it looked as though someone had been slammed onto the hood and then dragged off. Bloodhounds were brought in, and they traced a scent from the car back to Jennifer's condo complex before losing the trail, which could suggest that whoever parked the car had returned to the Mosaic complex, which again is where Jennifer lived. 2 witnesses reported that they saw a dark Chevy Malibu driving erratically near the Mosaic's exit around 7:45 that Tuesday. Jennifer's boyfriend was questioned and cleared, as well as one of Jennifer's co-workers who reportedly had a thing for her. The construction workers we mentioned before were also questioned by police, but there were major challenges with getting them to talk, as many were undocumented or transient, maybe spoke little English, and were generally hesitant to speak. Jennifer's parents told police that she had complained in the past about workers staring at her, and up to 10 construction workers have been living in a vacant unit that was directly across from her. Some of the men had even worked inside Jennifer's condo just a week earlier. And there was ongoing construction at the complex, and there were many vacant units, which may have made Jennifer more vulnerable. And we still have more to get into after one break to hear a word from this week's sponsors. As parents, something we can always agree on is that we want what's best for our kids, and that starts with setting them up for success, and sometimes homeschooling is the right fit for you and your kids. But let's be real, even as a former homeschooler myself, you still need support, and that's where K-12 Powered Schools come in. K-12 is a tuition-free, online accredited public school that offers an engaging curriculum designed to help your child learn at their own pace in a way that works best for them. One of my favorite parts of homeschooling is really the flexibility of schedules, and with K-12, you can still have just that, but your kids are still being supported by state-certified teachers who are trained in online education. They get to work with hands-on technology that makes learning fun and interactive, and there are even social opportunities and extracurricular activities. I'm someone that knows that even in the same family, 2 kids can be very different and have very different needs, and K-12 Powered Schools offers a safe, structured environment where any kid can thrive. They've been doing this for over 25 years, so they know what they're doing. Join the more than 3 million families who have been served by K-12 and empower your student to reach their full potential now. Go to k12.com/moms today to find a tuition-free K-12 powered school near you and enroll now. That's the letter K, the number 12.com/moms, k12.com/moms. This episode is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack sponsor. IQ Bar is the better-for-you, plant protein-based snacks made with brain-boosting nutrients to refuel, nourish, and satisfy hunger without the sugar crash. When IQ Bar sent us their ultimate sampler packet, the toasted coconut chip flavor immediately stood out to me. I love all things coconut, and the combination is just perfect. And not only do they taste amazing, they're rich, they're satisfying, but they've actually been a big game changer in my routine. I always have an IQ bar or two on me, whether I'm just on the go or just need a snack to hold me over. They're the perfect size for when I'm busy, and I love that they keep me full without that crash. Plus, there's other flavors like mint chocolate chip, which I also love, chocolate sea salt, love even more, and banana nut. Also love. There's really always something to satisfy my cravings. And what's even better is they're packed with plant protein and there's no gluten, dairy, soy, or artificial flavors, so you get the boost you need without all the extra junk. And with over 20,000 five-star reviews, it's clear that I'm not the only one starting my day off right with IQ Bar. And right now, IQ Bar is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus get free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MOMS to 64,000. Text MOMS to 64,000. That's MOMS to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. You know the saying, youth is wasted on the young? It's something I think about a lot, and I think of it in tons of different ways, including even dental care. When I was a kid, I could care less about dental care, going to the dentist. It just was not a big deal to me because your teeth are like basically perfect as a kid. And as you grow up, not so much. I deal with things like grinding. I didn't even realize I was grinding at night. And it wasn't until I started feeling that jaw tension that I realized something was off. I was one of the 30% of Americans who actually grind their teeth, but I didn't want to spend a fortune on a dental visit. Again, my mom's not paying for it anymore. Now it's my problem. And so that's when I found Remy. And let me tell you, it was so easy. So here's how it worked for me. I got my impression kit in the mail, followed the simple step-by-step instructions to make the perfect mold of my teeth, and then Remy sent me my custom-fit night guard made in Las Vegas. It was that simple. What I love is Remy is not only way less expensive than going to the dentist, but it's also incredibly comfortable. They're so confident that you'll get a perfect fit that they offer a 45-night guarantee or your money back. And I'm telling you, I would have never done it if it wasn't this easy. Now I'm protecting my teeth every night, which is something I wish I would have learned when I was much younger. But there's no hassle, there's no stress. So if you are grinding your teeth or just want to avoid doing the damage that I've done, get yourself a Remy night guard. Trust me, it is worth it. No waiting rooms, no overpriced bills, just a way better way to protect your teeth while you sleep. Try Remy risk-free at shopremy.com/moms and use code MOMS to get up to 50% off your night guard at checkout. That's 50% off at shopremi.com/moms with code MOMS. Thank you, Remy, for sponsoring this episode. And now back to the episode.
So before the break, we were getting into the story of Jennifer Kesse, who disappeared from her condo in Orlando, Florida in 2005. There really haven't been a lot of clues as to what happened to Jennifer. There's only been some surveillance footage showing a suspect who is believed to have dropped Jennifer's car off at a separate location, and they can't really get a good look at his face, and that's been one of the most frustrating parts of the equation with this story. In May of 2008, Florida passed the Jennifer Kesse and Tiffany Sessions Missing Persons Act, and this required all law enforcement agencies to establish clear procedures for missing adults. This would require that reports be entered into state and national databases and timely responses. Jennifer's parents also helped to pass other laws, like raising the missing child alert to age 26 and requiring DNA to be entered into databases if someone is missing for more than 90 days. And if you stick around until the end of this episode, we're going to go into a little bit more detail about the case of Tiffany Sessions. That was when I heard about this Missing Persons Act, I wanted to go and hear a little more about her story. So we'll share some more of that after we are done with Jennifer's story. So around this time in 2008, Detective Joel Wright, who led Jennifer's case, interviewed a former housekeeper who said that the person in the security footage looked like a maintenance worker known as Chino. Chino had lived in another building at the Mosaic and had done repairs in Jennifer's condo a week before she disappeared. Interestingly, an anonymous crime line tip also suggested that this Chino person was involved. When Detective Wright finally caught up with Chino in 2009, he was serving time for statutory rape. When he was questioned about Jennifer, he said that she had let him inside her condo to do repairs, but he had no idea what happened to her. He took and passed a polygraph, but Jennifer's parents have doubts that she would have let him inside her condo alone. As we said before, she was very in touch with her family, and anytime she felt uncomfortable or if she was alone, she would call them, just say, hey, workers are here, let's just talk for a little while. Other women that lived at the complex agreed that Chino made them feel uncomfortable. They said he was friendly enough, but he was always just lurking around, even at weird times like late at night. In 2010, Detective Wright was reassigned, and the Orlando Police Department told Jennifer's family that they had exhausted all leads. The FBI took over the case, but progress stalled. In 2016, which is 10 years after Jennifer vanished, she was legally declared dead by the state of Florida.
Jennifer's parents sued the Orlando Police Department in 2018 for access to Jennifer's case files. They won, and they were given 16,000 pages of records and 67 hours of video and audio, which cost over $18,000. I swear the way it makes me crazy that families have to pay for records like this, that makes me insane.
Not only do you have to pay and sue.
Pay and sue. This has been an ongoing thing. Like, if you follow this case, especially here, like, we've known there's been issues between the two and comments that the family has made. I'm not speaking negatively about them at all, but things they've said, this wasn't done, we need this. So to kind of have to sue the people who are supposed to be helping you, you think, like, imagine being at this point in this case, like looking for your family member, and the person who's supposed to help you, you're literally having to sue to get the help that you should be getting. They were also shocked to learn that there were virtually no documented investigation efforts between 2012 and 2019. In December of 2022, the case was turned over to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement's Cold Case Unit. On May 20th, 2025, Jennifer's 44th birthday, FDLE announced that they had reviewed thousands of pages, interviewed around 45 people, and they considered the case active again. They even suggested that AI might help identify the person seen on video abandoning Jennifer's car, which that's where I'm like, okay, AI, like, there are things that you could be helpful for. Please don't take over everything, but this could be one that it really gives families hope in these kind of situations where officers aren't getting anywhere. To go to a computer, sure, do it.
This kind of thing is where I'm like, yes, AI, I am, thankful that it can be used for things like this, like for a good purpose, right, to identify people. I guess it remains to be seen, though, because of course it is still AI. So is it reliable? It's only as accurate as what it knows. So you always have to keep that in mind. So I do feel like it's cool to think about AI being used in that way, but then also kind of like, I don't know. I'm still skeptical, but I do think it's exciting. Like, it's an exciting way to think about using
for
AI,
sure.
For
and
sure.
You know what? It kind of reminds me of like the familial genealogy. Like when that first started, people were like, I don't know. Understandably, obviously this is different, but it is like as we become more comfortable with it and the more it learns, like it would be really cool to see things solved and this being something that helps out and not causing problems, basically.
For sure.
Jennifer's family, though, has never given up hope. In fact, when we were at CrimeCon last year, Mandy, we met one of Jennifer's uncles. He was there and he had her books. He gave us both one. Such a nice man. And Haley actually reached out to him before this episode just to let him know we were doing this. And they were very, glad we were sharing the story. And the family continues to fight for answers and to keep Jennifer's story alive nearly 20 years later. Her mom has said the hole in their heart is there forever until they have an answer, while her father has said that being in limbo is worse than hell. Closure for them is everything. Anyone with information about Jennifer Kesse's disappearance is urged to contact the FDLE Orlando office at 407-245-0888, and we'll have the email address in our show notes.
So earlier we mentioned that in 2008, the Jennifer Kesse and Tiffany Sessions Act was passed in Florida, and I thought we could share a little bit more about Tiffany's case today as well. On February 9th, 1989, Tiffany Sessions, a 20-year-old student at the University of Florida, told her roommate that she was going out for a walk, and she never returned. Tiffany was a junior studying finance at UF. She was smart, focused, and driven, and she had dreams of working on Wall Street after college, which you go, girl, because when I was in college, that would have sounded like a snooze fest. I would be like, that would not be my dream. So I'm like, that's how I know I have a different brain. Her parents described her as being independent, goal-oriented, and full of life. That afternoon, she left her apartment at Casablanca East and went for her usual power walk. She took the same route often. And on this day, she was wearing red sweatpants, a white sweatshirt, tennis shoes, and a yellow gold Rolex watch that her parents gave her for her birthday. She also had a Sony Walkman with her, but she did not take her purse, wallet, or any ID. Hours passed, and there was no sign of Tiffany, and as it started to get later and later, her roommate got more concerned and eventually contacted Tiffany's mom. When Tiffany's mom heard that she was missing, she immediately called the police.
Within 24 hours, Tiffany's father, Pat, had already flown in and launched what would become the largest search for a missing person in Florida history at the time. Over 700 volunteers, including fellow University of Florida students, the Marines, and even players from the Miami Dolphins, joined in the effort. Pat Sessions held conferences alongside public figures like Dan Marino and John Walsh to keep Tiffany's name in the spotlight. Despite the massive search effort and hundreds of tips being called in, there were no solid leads. Investigators found Tiffany's car in the apartment parking lot and found no sign of a struggle. It was like Tiffany had just vanished into thin air. For years, investigators followed false leads and confessions from jailhouse informants. One man, Michael Knickerbocker, claimed he had chained Tiffany to a tree and dumped her body near Fort Myers. But police later learned that he had been incarcerated during her disappearance. I cannot take it when these people do this and they want to either be part of the story or lie for attention. I don't understand it.
I don't get it.
One of the sickest things you can do. But then in 2014, which was 25 years after Tiffany disappeared, a new suspect emerged, and this time, investigators believed they had finally found the right man. His name was Paul Eugene Rolls, and he was a convicted serial killer who had lived and worked at Tiffany's walking route in Gainesville in 1989.
Paul had a long and violent history, including the murder of a 20-year-old woman named Linda Fita in the 1970s. More recently, in 2012, DNA evidence linked him to the 1992 murder of Elizabeth Foster, who was found beaten and strangled just a mile from where Tiffany Sessions was last seen. But the most chilling piece of evidence came from a notebook that he kept while he was in prison. There was a cryptic entry in this notebook that read, number 2, with the date 2/9/89, and then number 2 written again. And that was the exact date that Tiffany vanished, so the investigators believed that it was Paul's way of documenting his victim. In the same notebook, investigators found directions to a wooded area near Gainesville that they believe may have been a burial site. But unfortunately, by the time he was identified as the prime suspect, he had already died in prison. To this day, Tiffany's body has never been found. In February of 2025, 36 years later, Alachua County investigators reiterated that Tiffany's case was still active. They said they have received several new tips and continue to search potential sites where Paul may have left remains. Tiffany's Rolex has also never been recovered, and her family believes that that could be a key to finally locating her. If you have any information about Tiffany's disappearance, Detective Kevin Allen at the Alachua County Sheriff's Office is the one to contact and share that information. It really is wild to think about Jennifer Kesse's story being as old as it is.
I know.
And just remembering it as a story that happened very close to where I lived at the time. And it was truly terrifying. I was, like I said earlier in the episode, living in my first apartment. I had no business moving into that apartment. I was just headstrong and hell-bent on moving out as soon as I turned 18 and wanted to get my own place. And that's what I could afford, of course. And, to me, it was not a big deal, but it was very real to me when there was a woman missing from, like, literally the neighborhood that I lived in. Like, that was a very scary thing. And so that was one of the first missing persons cases that I kind of has always stuck with me. Like, a local story has always been the Jennifer Kesse story. And, to this day, it still does blow my mind that they have not found her, and I just genuinely hope that they find her and are able to give her family that closure.
Absolutely.
20 years is a long time, I feel like, to pass, and like for there not to be really any answers in the case. It's just very, very sad.
I was happy to hear that recently, and we mentioned this before, that they said there's like not new evidence, but they said basically that the case is still active. Like they made it sound like that they had more tips that they were following up on than they had before. So I'm very happy to see any movement happening in that. And then, of course, Tiffany Sessions. It's just so wild to think something we take for granted, just taking a walk, somebody just going about their daily activity, and for somebody to take them. And this poor family's whole lives have changed because of this. So I'm always impressed when families are able to use the law and to help create these kind of laws that can help other people who are going through their situation. So I think it just speaks a lot about them.
The one thing I thought was really cool also from the Jennifer Kesse story was that her parents worked to get the missing child, the age increased to 26. I did not know that.
Me either.
And I want to go look into that a little bit more and find out like what the details of that are and what it means. But that, like, to me, I know a lot of people are like, what do you mean 26? Like 26 obviously isn't a child, but if you think it's still your baby.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're still a young 20-something, you're still a young adult, you're still just starting life off. You're still very much like your parents are looking out for you. And I think that's amazing that they were able to get that raised
Absolutely.
to that. So you can still consider like this a missing child. So it's just as prioritized as a missing child.
Right.
Which I think is great. That was our story for this week. So thank you guys so much for listening to this Thursday episode. It was not a terribly long one, but we hope that you guys enjoyed it. I felt like this was an important story to share, both of them really, just to kind of reignite the memory of these two missing women that still have not been found. But we will be back next Thursday with a new case or new something.
We're not there
new
yet.
Something.
It'll be new.
It'll be new. Whatever it is, you won't.
It'll be new to us too.
Yes, exactly. So, all right, guys, have a great week, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.